From the west side of Chicago and all around the globe, it's the Gregory Show, starring Gregory Struss. I'm Scotty Joe Vegas, inviting you to stay tuned for the next 30 minutes, because you're where the action is, mama. ACTION plus Taboo Topics. And now, here's the man of the hour, Mr. Gregory Struss.
Welcome. Greetings and salutations. ¿Cómo estás? Welcome to the Greg Show. I'm the one and only Greg Struss, reminding you that there's only a year and a half until Election Day. So remember, get out and vote. You believe that stuff? A year and a half. And I just want to make sure that everybody understands the importance of getting out and voting. You know, we have a year and a half to get ready for all of this. Interesting stuff, right?
Good stuff, buddy. Good stuff.
Considering the candidate of your choice, because there's so many of them, right?
Who do you like?
Well, we'll talk about that a little bit later. All right. Only a year and a half until Election Day. Can you believe it? Donald Trump is the leading contender on the Republican side, and Hillary Clinton is now beginning to talk more as her muteness has healed with the media, right? That wasn't it.
Okay.
I'm so confused. With nearly 16 Republican candidates and several Democratic hopefuls, who will I vote for? 2 words, Rahm Emanuel. He has sure proven how he can budget, right?
He'd be a tough guy to be married to.
You know, he has his hands full with an outrageous budget crisis in Chicago. The Chicago school system is something like hundreds of $millions in debt.
Good Lord.
And according to Governor Bruce Rauner, he's advised the school system to use the bankruptcy law because, in his words, you know, that's what it's there for. But if I go to Naperville sometime and talk to somebody about filing bankruptcy and hear about the lecture you get, all right? Anyone that is living in, you know, more of a well-to-do area, tell them that you have filed bankruptcy, or tell them that you have had to collect unemployment, or that you're on the link or whatever else, and listen to the lecture on how it's wrong, because you're taking away from the things that you have been paid into.
Did you get lectured from somebody from Naperville?
I have a cousin who's a major you-know-what, and
would that be SOB, ASS, KFC?
No, it's just a lecture, because you know what? After all, Governor Rauner is Republican, mm-hmm. But I have yet to meet anybody that's conservative and this is not an attack on anybody that's conservative or somebody that's Democratic. But that's what the bankruptcy laws are there for. But if someone who's an individual has had to file bankruptcy, don't be sharing it, because you're going to hear the lecture. You're going to hear how bankruptcy is wrong, it's morally wrong, and everything else. But it is a law. But we can use it to, you know, protect the school system, and I think that's what it is.
I don't have a sound effect for that.
I know. So I just wanted him to ask Donald Trump about that. Thank you. About the bankruptcy laws. So anyway, it's more of a cluster F instead of placing the responsibility for where it belongs on the politicians who have been voted into office, you know, instead of blaming the teachers who are there now to babysit everybody and pass people that can't read or write. That's what's going on here. Teachers are not allowed to exercise, you know, the care for the child and saying, okay, he's not ready, he or she isn't ready to go to 4th or 5th grade because they can't read at a 3rd grade level. So we're going to advance them anyway, and this is the society we're looking at, folks.
It happened to yours truly.
Did it? Mm-hmm. You know, and again, maybe it sounds like I'm being harsh, but the reality is, if kids today are tomorrow's, you know, our future for tomorrow, and they're not able to read or write, how is that being, you know, how is that serving them well in their interests? So you put them into a situation with people that are, you know, at an advanced reading skill and advancing through grades and are not able to keep up with the work and everything else.
I believe you fake it till you make it.
I guess so. That's probably what it's about. Great show tonight. Taboo Topics, and I am on fire. But enough about the hemorrhoidal tissues. I'm Greg. This is the Greg Show. And we are reinventing community television from the west side of Chicago. Thank you for joining us, and we'll be back in just a moment.
And now, here to recreate the discovery of Hemingway's corpse are our Culture Corner curators, Terry and Jerry. Great job, guys. Great job, guys. Let's hear it. Terry and Jerry.
We are back here at the Greg Show. I'm Greg Struss, along with Scotty Joe Vegas. How are you doing?
I'm doing fantastic. I love Elmhurst. If you ever wanted to get a boner on, go downtown Elmhurst by the York Theater and look at all those wonderful businesses and all the glamorous people. And if you're isolated, go out there and be somebody and scare them.
All right. Well, isolation's interesting because you know what? Being reclusive is kind of different.
Yes.
You know, and I wonder, is there a fine line between being reclusive, all right, when someone is reclusive, they are not going out, right? They stay away from people, stay away from events.
Yes.
And all kinds of things. And I wonder sometimes if my friend, I talk about my friend once in a while, has become reclusive. But we'll get to that in just a moment.
It's just beautiful downtown Elmhurst. I was walking through, I saw all these beautiful people, all these wonderful shops. It's a nice town.
Absolutely.
Sorry.
Anyway, and if you are in Elmhurst, we'd love to have you here at the Greg Show, where we produce at Cable Studio City.
And watch train videos.
Yeah, we were talking
with
about
our clothes on.
And the funny thing is, well, we got to do the pitch first about YouTube.com. Now, have you ever seen stuff? You can see good programming, like what you're watching here right now on the Greg Show. See, I'm going back to my days of doing the pitch at WGVU. For $49.95, we'll send you a copy of the Frank Sinatra special or the Lawrence Welk special that you're watching right now. Lawrence Welk ended his program in 1982, and his family is still together for this special holiday season. So for $49.95, your pledge, we'll send you just a photo of Lawrence Welk having his diaper changed, because that's what happened. They, digitally remastered and everything else.
I was waiting for the two shots to show my facial reaction.
All right, there we are. All right, now go back to this one. There we are. So, see, I gotta be amused somehow, okay? Gotta be amused somehow. But anyway, we have a plethora of Greg shows on YouTube.com with the search word Greg Struss Show. Now, you can also look up Scotty Joe Vegas, Scotty Joe Vega. You can also take a look at, I think Continental Cable is one of our search words. Bobby Mudra, all kinds of stuff. Our cast and crew here.
That's a good award,
Yeah. Now, I don't know what happens, but, week to week as we do this Love Fest here on the big cable cast and the webcast, I'm always asking you how you're doing. So maybe I shouldn't ask you how you're doing. But how you doing? I noticed that you have an Ingalls visitor pass. Now, he walked in tonight, and he's wearing a pass. What happened? Tell us about...
My mother's in the hospital, and she got cut up... And I looked at my mother, and she was beaten down by life, but she looked good for what she did. Mm-hmm. So I spent 45 minutes there. We both said it was hot in the room, and she just got up after a couple days of being cut up. And
how do you feel about that?
I hope nobody goes through that, but we are from the womb, and we go in the ground. Mm-hmm. So it's part of life. And she's gonna be around for a long time. She's a survivor. She's had more holes in her than a golf course.
More holes than Swiss cheese.
More holes than a mouse at Mars Cheese Castle. That's true.
Okay. So
I was at the Harley Davidson Museum today at about 10 o'clock. I had to drop Miffy off there. And hello, Miffy up there in Cheeseland. I'm sorry.
So for those of you who are tuning in, Miffy is Scotty Joe Vegas's significant other right now. I shouldn't say right now. You met, and I think there's something that's great about this because Scott shows that you continue to move on, you continue to move forward, you persist. All right, when it comes to a relationship. Now, for me, after my last relationship, it was so incredibly heartbreaking for me. I'd like to admit that I'm over this relationship. It's been over a decade, but I really have not met anybody, and I probably haven't allowed myself to meet anyone. So you do give me hope. How do you get to that point where you're not so hurt that you're willing to take that chance again?
I think it's a numbers game with you, Greg. I think that you got to line them all up there and say, well, which one doesn't have a lost eye, and you start there. No. Actually, the Lord always has somebody for everybody. There's one camel humps the other camel. You got humps. What do you want me to say? What was the question again?
I'm like, what is that part in
You got to be a cold bastard. That's what it is. Love stinks, like the J. Cowles band says. Mm-hmm. And you have to be around safe people. You cannot take risk on people. You have to be around safe people that, that have alleged bank accounts or, good teeth. The children don't have scurvy. It's a good start.
Okay. But there is something to be said about persistence. And
they call that stalkers now, if you're persistent. That's where I started. I was the original stalker in St. Stanislaus grade school, where I had 4 girlfriends at one time out of 32 kids in the same class. I think I had a problem back then.
Okay. I was thinking, when it's come to significant relationships, having a partner or a loved one, I've never really was persistent in that because I don't know if it's that I never felt that I was worthy of having that, or the times that I did have it, which, I've probably been in love at least twice in my adult life, once in my teenage years. And I'd like to experience love at this point, but as we talk about persistence, I thought about, the personal relationship really was never important to me. It was about the career and about making a mark. And I remember when I was younger, and it was kind of funny. One of the police officers came into where I was working as a teenager. I was 19 at the time, and he says, Struss, you ought to apply for a dispatch job at the police department. So I went into the police department. I talked to the chief at that point in time. I remember I was going to community college. And I walked in, I introduced myself to him, and he just basically told me, I can't hire you because you're 19 years old. And I didn't stop. I went in the next week. 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 Went in the next week. I was probably wearing this guy out, and he was probably entertained, but I would not take no for an answer because I was convinced that I was the only person for that job. So I finally.
But you knew what you wanted.
I knew what I wanted, that's right. So maybe that's the secret, because in a relationship, I've never really, I don't know if it's something that I didn't feel that I could make work, or that I don't really know what it is. I like being independent, but at this point in my life, I'd like to see what it's like to be involved with someone again. So as I get into this persistence, I kept going. It goes back to what an instructor at Columbia College, the great radio, well, he's a lawyer, but radio Dave Milberg. He was my broadcast law instructor at Columbia College in 1989. I stayed in touch with this man religiously for at least a decade after I left school. I always felt that, we had more of a corresponding relationship. Never really talked
Maybe
too
you were
much.
the same sign.
I don't know. He was a great guy. Still, but somehow I lost touch in thinking that, or lost that maybe because I wasn't doing the show anymore, that maybe I can't turn to him for other life advice, which was kind of stupid for me.
Kind of stupid.
Yeah, kind of ridiculous.
Stupid is hard.
I wouldn't say stupid.
Let's just say, maybe I should have did different.
Right.
Yeah.
So I don't know what happens, but in life, I think as we get older and get a little more experienced and a little more rejection, a little more whatever those things are, that it kind of soils the spirit in a sense. And I guess this is what happened to me. I'm talking about some of this today on the show because I've kept a journal for like since 1989.
Good Lord.
Yeah, and I mean, I have books and books and books and files and stuff that I haven't read in years. So for some reason, the shelf in the garage fell, and there were all my journals.
Wow.
And I felt that I needed to read this as I was doing my laundry yesterday at the laundromat. And it was fascinating to read something that I wrote 20 years ago as I wanted to make it. And then being on the other side of that and wondering, where did all this time go?
What did it say?
It talked about, what's fun, because I never really felt that, my fun was my work. Doing the shows were always fun for me. And then when that ended, I had this big gaping hole in my life and had to find something else to do. So,
And like all of us, we filled it with naughty things.
unfortunately, yes.
Or we filled it with naughty things.
So the persistence, what happens to that? That belief of what I want. What I want. And maybe in that relationship, and I think the lesson for me from you, and thank you for sharing that.
It's okay.
Is that you knew what you wanted. You wanted to be with somebody. And, that's interesting.
Not just somebody.
Somebody special.
Somebody that makes you feel good, because there's people that you were with that you don't feel good with. And you say, wait a minute, this is wrong too. So everybody loves sunshine, except trolls.
Right.
Yeah.
So you knew what you wanted. You went for it. And
It's my dream girl. Tall, gingy. Oh, God bless her.
so I don't know. I guess as
Keep on reading those journals, and
I felt that I was a little depressed after reading it. I felt, there's wisdom in sharing this stuff, but what I take from it is that I knew what I wanted. And since that time, I have had self-doubt. And it's been deep self-doubt over stupid stuff. It's like, we were talking about bankruptcy. We were talking about these things and how society judges people. You may not like what Donald Trump has to say. I may not care for what Donald Trump has to say. But I do respect the fact that he is speaking on something that he feels very strongly about. However, the fallout from that, for him, with his various business deals, people dropping him and distancing themselves, were really not respecting, and this is where my grandfather always said that never discuss politics, religion, or
orgasm.
money.
Yes.
And I would also say sexuality, because in sexuality, there's also religious things that get in the way, and religious beliefs on how things are wrong or whatever. Even though people may be accepting or tolerating people from a different sexual background, orientation, or transgenderism, it's still rooted in deep political. It's now become a political debate and a religious thing. So my words are, okay, is it right to talk about these things in public? As a human being, I can talk about whatever I want, but has it become a divisive thing that people are judging? And we'll come back to that. You're watching the I don't know if I made my point.
I hope you did.
They're telling us to go to break. Anyway, when we come back, we're going to talk a little bit about taboo topics, finish this topic on persistence, and we'll be back in just a moment. Thanks for watching, everybody. All right, we are back here on the Greg Show, and Scott, you're going to give us the roundup of what we just talked about. So
Okay, we don't talk about politics, religion, what you are, and orgasms. Got it.
All right, something like that. Let's open up Taboo Topics.
Are we ready in the control room? 3. No.
No, that was last. Oh, no.
Are we good? Thumbs up. Taboo Topics!
Okay. Elderly parents. Is it the child's responsibility to take care of the elderly parent? Now, I think this is ringing true because now that Mama Joe Vegas is kind of incapacitated.
Oh, she'll be kicking my ass next week. Go ahead.
Well, of course, but they're stating that what?
It is a white European guilt upon their children. The man from Duck Dynasty that Daddy told me, he says, respect, honor thy mother and father. It's in the Bible. It's what you should do. Now, if they're evil to you, well, that's why on that James Cagney movie where they took the wheelchair and the old lady went bing, bong, 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 bong. I'm sorry. What?
I want to know. Okay, so they talked about him coming up by you, but why? What about the sister and the brother that are here?
Well, they just want to get him out of town for a little bit. But I got hotels, I got trips planned. You know, I got romance. I'm hearing Andy Williams right now. I'm wearing a turtleneck. I mean, what else do you want from me? You're in my heart, you're in my soul.
Okay.
And it's all because of you. Oh.
All right. So anyway, we're talking about what we're doing. So you don't. I like with Frank Sinatra. If you watch this Rain or Shine.
Okay.
Come rain or come shine, we'll be happy together, unhappy together. He does this, and I've watched it. Like, do you ever get like OCD when you're listening to a song that you like, and you'll go back and listen to it over and over and over and over again? Have you ever done that?
I've done that with train videos where I've sat down, I've derobed.
Was it before the show? Is that why everybody walked down the control?
That's right. We're like, ooh, no.
Did you shoot the train or did Mike?
Mike did.
Okay.
Mike shot the train.
So anyway, Frank Sinatra said, we'll be happy together, unhappy together. He's like...
He's realistic.
Right.
Because we're all human and we're all, we discussed that before. So what the hell is your point?
My point is several things.
Okay.
With the Donald, whether or not I agree with him doesn't matter. The fact is he's speaking about something that's on people's minds.
Yes.
Not everybody's minds.
Correct.
So then he gets labeled as a racist because he shared his opinion.
Yes.
So who am I to judge him as a racist because he made a statement that some people are, he's opening up a dialogue. Like, look, something is going on here. Something's going on with the borders. Now, Michael Savage, he's a conservative talk show host.
And Jewish.
And I listened to him, and then I started going nuts after a while listening to him. But he makes points that are very powerful. Language, borders, culture. He says that's what makes a country.
Yes.
Language, borders, culture.
Yes.
And then he'll go on these diatribes that are like really powerful.
Correct.
But people accuse him of being a racist, and he's not attacking people. He says that he's a sexual libertarian.
I'd agree with that, but he is from Europe, and he's a marked man because he's a certain color of a certain skin, and that's just the way it's going to be for a long time until we get over it. But I will say this, that the heat about the Donald is the Democratic Party, and they're entitled. They know how to work the system.
But you look at Hillary every time she's like this. She's got the same look all the time.
Well, you admire her. That's good.
I admire. She's powerful. She measures her words, but everything is on a talking point. No one ever goes off the script. The Donald, I think, would kind of liven things up because he would be part of that PR apparatus.
I don't think it's color with Donald. I think it's money because he knows, hey, we're losing money in the country until we get an embargo in this country from people shipping stuff in for, you can make it over in China and you can't make it here in America. We're doomed. So there you go.
But I don't think a fair assessment of all of this is that it's just one group of people.
No, it's all the countries. Mexico, Korea, Venezuela, you name it.
Yeah.
Can I make a point about politics?
Absolutely.
We, as Americans, it is our job to be fair to everybody because that's what makes our country strong. We take in the weak, we take in the strong. Well, Mr. Scott Walker, who I like what he said that
Texas Walker?
No, that's Cheesehead Walker up in Cheeseland up there in Wisconsin.
the governor.
The governor. And he threw Iran under the bus. Now, don't you think for every two sides of the coin, there are bad people in Iran and there are good people in Iran? Mm-hmm. There you go. You got to keep it open.
Well, I was selling...
Because they're fighting them SOBs too,
mm-hmm.
you know?
And there's a huge population of Persian people in Beverly Hills, California.
And here.
I haven't met anyone here, but in Beverly Hills, California, when I was selling BMW, I remember there was a lady and her husband came in to take a car for a ride, and she said, oh yeah, Larry King's my neighbor. I said, where does he live? It wasn't even on the test ride. I said, let's go over there. I want to see where he lived. He lived on a corner, really nice place. And I said, well, how did you end up here? She said, well, it was during the Shah and things that were going on in the late 70s, early 80s, and we wanted to leave. So everybody gets... everybody comes here because they see the opportunity, yet we are losing our borders, language, and a certain part of our culture. Christmas trees. It used to be Christmas. People that were Jewish celebrated Hanukkah. They had the Star of David and then the candles. And now people are insulted that we call it a Christmas tree. So now on TV, in order to pander to the audience, it's now a holiday tree.
It is the power of the iPhone. Because a lot of people, if we wouldn't broadcast it, they wouldn't care. And until our media stops doing that stuff and every street fight or cop, getting in a bad situation being broadcast.
Yeah, we have no respect.
We have no respect.
It's missing.
No.
All right.
I mean, there's good cops. But,
Absolutely.
They cover some stories, but not too many.
And when we come back, more taboo topics right after this.
There's a...
And we are back, thank you. And we were talking about Scott Walker of Wisconsin. He's the governor.
He wasn't popular up there because he cut all the laws and he balanced the budget and he did a good job. People don't like that. They want to be on a free society, free welfare, free love.
And people are just so upset about this, like the gay marriage thing. All right, get married, have it over with. All right, that's okay. So that's a social advancement for people. Okay, I guess some of the things that are going on. Again, language, borders, culture, as Michael Savage talks about. A lot of these people have been, when you take a look at gay people who are born here, they've had less rights than people that are coming from other countries.
Agreed.
Does that make sense?
Agreed.
Because it's become a religious and a political conversation. Much like when you tell somebody, oh, by the way, I filed bankruptcy. Or I know someone that's I had to collect welfare.
Okay.
Or I had to get on the system.
Welfare is there for a reason.
Yeah. But yet, which I would strongly urge you not to share these things because those are social areas of conversation that are not acceptable in circles. So,
kind of like if you get crabs or something, you don't share with it.
Right, you don't share certain things about your personal life. So I would venture to say, don't discuss, even though Governor Rauner has said for the school system in Chicago to use the bankruptcy laws, yeah, that's what they're there for. But watch the school system file for bankruptcy and the people that will be up in arms. This is what's so